Good morning, everyone. How we doing today? Uh, we talked about several things yesterday. I kind of fielded questions and just talked, and we were talked about a documentary that was airing last night that actually had been shown Friday night as well. And Kathy mentioned it, and we hopefully everyone had a chance to take a look at it, and maybe we can talk about it a little bit. Maybe we can discuss that. And because one of the things I wanna ask is uh from most of us, not only what we got from it, but why do you think it was necessary that we saw it? And I don't mean because Kathy asked it, but why it was why was that important uh from that perspective, from where we are right now? Yes, sir. Hi, Pastor. Good morning, Pastor.
Good morning. I want to see, first of all, before we get into the documentary,
Yes,
if,
sir.
if there are questions about anything else.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
And,
absolutely right.
and if there are questions about something else, then we will respond to them briefly and into the documentary because it's going to probably take up the rest of the time we're on. Okay.
Okay. Great idea. Any questions, y'all, about anything else? No? Okay. Okay. Anyone want to get us started? What did you see? Did we look at it last night? And what are your thoughts? How did it make you feel?
Hey, Ron, I'm put Kathy on the spot. What did you feel, Kathy? You brought it up yesterday. Appreciate you having done that. But what did you feel about it? Yes.
Okay, you caught me in the middle of taking a bite of breakfast. I guess the reason I wanted us to look at it, I felt I felt a lot of different emotions. As I watched it, it was almost disbelief and a feeling of uneasiness. But the longer I watched it, it became a burden for humanity because seeing the ties, I mean, I knew when the impeachment charges stuck to him and he was impeached, I knew they had to have some form of evidence, but I didn't know what I expected that evidence to be. And being seeing what it was, I realized that standing in the gap, that's what we do. And that's why he cannot have another term. And that's why the energy that we're pushing out there now will keep him from doing that because he came very close to being an autocrat and the dictator that he desires to be. And his plan should have worked because he surrounded himself with all the right people who had his mentality. And that's hard for me to comprehend that someone's mind works that way. But you referenced on yesterday the book Overthrow. So after seeing that documentary twice, because I tried to watch it again last night, even though the universe had something else in mind because the TV kept cutting off, but I had it recorded anyway. I went back and got the book out, Overthrow, and started from the beginning, reading again. And it is a playbook for everything that the United States has done to other countries and how they take over what they want. And Trump was using that same playbook to do the things that he wanted to do. And I guess it just shocked me and surprised me that in this day and age, in this time, something like that could happen. And I really wanted those who voted for Trump. I hope that because I know they usually watch a lot of Fox News and not MSNBC, but I hope that there were others who have maybe never watched in MSNBC or who does not, or who are, I don't know. I just wanted other people to see this who voted for him, to see the character of the man that was sitting in that office with that amount of power and how dangerous he really is. And so those are just my feelings, and there are just certain things that how when it's like the man described coming under a spell, like, and that's what I see happening. People are mesmerized by this man, and they come under his spell, and then he can do anything. But when everything hits the fan, it doesn't stick to him because he steps away from you and lets you take the fall. And then how he talked about then after all of that happened, he had clarity and he woke up from the spell. And all of those things to me are spiritual things that we're unpacking and looking at, in my opinion, and are starting to understand the importance of what we do to keep people from falling under that spell, so to speak. So I'm going to stop talking now, but those are just some of my thoughts. I had a lot more than that, but I will let someone else speak. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone have a chance to look at it? What were your thoughts? Would you like to share?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
One of the things that stuck out to me, and I also had an opportunity to look at it both times, was how someone from no specific country of power, Ukraine, but who was a dual citizen, in 1.5 years went from being local to being on the president's inside track. And it all was because of the God of this world that got the attention of everyone, which is money. They started throwing money around. And those with that mentality just ate it up and did not ask questions, simply accepted, just based on the fact that, well, they must be on an inside track somewhere if they've got all this money to give away or to share. And so that's one thing. The other thing that struck out to me was that this country being the most powerful country in the world, if it had an autocrat as a president, a true autocrat like a Trump mentality autocratic person, Hungarian autocratic person, the goal would always be control what others have, which does not lead to anything but I see chaos worldwide, continuous chaos, the continual pitting of countries and people against each other, so that, as Kathy mentioned, when the dust clears, the people still standing would only still be those people in power. And so that's the thing that I it just does. Something just rose anew that this cannot happen. This cannot happen. Absolutely not. To be ruled, the world to be ruled by this type of mentality. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert Jean. There may be some people on here who were not on yesterday or who did not get to see the documentary. For those of you who didn't or were not on, the documentary was about Trump's first impeachment, actually, and how they tried to dig up dirt on Hunter Biden and current President Biden, and the extent that they went to get this and to this false information and to make it public. The people who they attempted to bribe, the people who they had in their corner who were indebted to Russia as well as to this country, and how the Russian mafia and the Republican senators and House members played a great part in the whole shenanigans that they were engaged in. not to mention the amount of money that was spent with them being shuttled all over the world, pretty much, and in order to discredit Biden and his son. That's the gist of the documentary. And the guy, Lev, recounted everything that they did in order to make sure that Trump won the election against Biden in 2020. So, and I solicit you to go to YouTube or to actually go to MSNBC, because they're going to show it again, I'm sure, at some point this weekend or next weekend. So, but that's the gist of what we are talking about when we talk about are talking about the documentary. Thank you.
Did you notice that no one actually went to jail for it? For you say, well, Liv ended up serving a few months in jail. He went to jail for fraud. He didn't go to jail for the attack on trying to persuade a government to dig up dirt on Biden and make up a bunch of lies. Nobody went to jail for anything. Nobody was punished for that.
I know all of them were agents for a foreign government, and none of them went to jail.
None
None
of
of them had diplomatic clearance. None of them. But what struck me more than that is there was the CIA, the FBI, who deal with foreign actors, and the State Department security team. None of those were involved in exposing it at all. And you're not going to tell me that the CIA or the FBI, the department of the FBI who deals with things like this, as well as the security team from the State Department, did not know about this. If Pompeo knew about it, the security team at the State Department knew about it. There's no question in my mind about that.
Well, they did know. I didn't actually see the documentary because I had a power outage right at the time it came on until the time it went off.
You and Catherine.
But I did see a little snippets of the comments after that. And the thing that struck me is that guy Lev said that the FBI, Secret Service, whoever, Bill Barr, when they raided his house, they took everything. They took his phone, computer, blah, blah, all of that. And we have not seen any of that information or evidence they collected against him. It just disappeared. And he said the only way he was able to help to give Rachel Maddow the information for the documentary was that his wife had saved it to some cloud somewhere that the FBI didn't get to. And that was the only way he was able to give her information. But otherwise, it's in the government archives somewhere, and they're not telling, and they probably were not going to tell us anything about it.
Well, he said that Bill Barr ordered it to be sealed. So the Southern District of New York has the information, but it's sealed so that Congress could not get to it. Now, Congress can get to it. If Merrick Garland was not a Republican, they would get to it because he could unseal it. If Merrick Garland is the most spineless person I've ever seen in my life, he has, my God, I can't think of anybody who is as spineless as he is. And I don't think that it was a mistake when Obama could not put him on the court, because he would not be any different than Joanne Roberts. Keep in mind that he did everything to protect Trump. He was not going after Trump. 2 years, he did not open an investigation on Trump for 2 years. So what I would like to do when we talk about this is to talk about the spiritual ramifications of all of this, because what we are being shown are the manifestations of the essence of this country. We are looking at how this country has maintained for as long as it's been in existence. Not only how it maintained its status, but also how it remained the strongest country on earth. This is a snapshot of how it happened and how it's still happening to this day. And this does not just involve Trump. It also involves the previous presidents as well. The difference is they were not trying to overthrow the government as Trump was. He was doing this because he wanted to be a dictator. But the others are doing this because they want to maintain the power of America. So I hope there are others who not only saw it, but have questions and thoughts about it. So with that, I will silence myself and listen at the comments you guys have.
Pastor, this is Linda. As I watched this and everything unfold, these men were given money, I mean, just large amounts of money to put into this project that they were doing. And it was Russia, but nobody was ever implicated from Russia. It was just like these two men was just working by themselves, but you know this was Putin's hand in everything, and he was never implicated in any of that.
But neither was anybody in the U.S. And as Pastor talked about, all those that knew about it, nobody was really indicted for anything.
Biden knew about it because he talked about it.
Yeah, that's the crazy part.
But if you understand how the government functions, it's not crazy at all. That's what they do. See, when we talk about Trump being the manifestation of the underbelly of this country, that is real. It is not Donald Trump. If you take any president and put them in that same role where Trump was, and change it from trying to dig up dirt on somebody in America, and that person changed Biden for a leader of another country, you will see that it fits perfectly with how this country has functioned for over 200 years. And this playbook that Kathy was referring to is evidence of the same of the same principles or the same way that this country has always functioned. I don't excuse Obama either. None of them. All of them knew how this country functions. This documentary, like I said, is a snapshot into the functionality of America.
I guess one of the things I found it just kind of fascinated me is this guy, Lev, sits at a meeting with Trump in his inner circle, and he says something about an ambassador that he heard. He had never met this woman, didn't know anything about her, and all of a sudden they start attacking her. And it's almost like he just made it up. And they start attacking her. And even, the stuff that they made up, they send it to Fox News, and without any type of investigation, without any type of verification of anything, they not only would report it, but they let you know that it came from a reliable source. And I'm just looking at that, how amazing that is. You
But
changed
not
the
only
word,
that, Ron,
huh?
oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to add to what you were saying, not just attack her, but had her fired.
Yes. Yes. Like what in the
And
world?
not only that, he apologized to Biden, but he did not apologize or try to apologize or try to meet with her, knowing
Yeah.
he had thrown her under the bus, be sacrificed at the altar of money.
Yeah.
There was something else in there also. You remember Andre, the lawyer who was suing him?
Yes.
This man was very wealthy, but he couldn't find his money. Think about that. This man was a multimillionaire, and this man searched everywhere, but he could not find his account until the all this blew up in their face. And as quiet as this kept, the one who blew it all up was Zelensky. If Zelensky had accepted what Trump was asking him to do, you still wouldn't know anything about it. But it blew up when he said no.
So who do you think was hiding where was it? Or did they the
Well,
Russian the money?
oh, when you were dealing with the underworld, the mafia, whether it be Russian mafia, Italian mafia, or whomever, they know how to hide their money. They in cahoots with banks. Do you think Deutsche Bank didn't know they were laundering money? Think about it this way. I bet you P. Diddy can't hide his money like that. I bet you that he found all his money. The Treasury Department has investigators who can find anybody's money, no matter where it is in the world. They can find it. They didn't want to. The lawyer wanted to, but this government didn't want to. They didn't care. Why would they look for his account when they would put money in his account through Russia? Paul Manafort volunteered for Trump's campaign. I'm sure that most of you've heard about that. When he volunteered, said he was working for nothing and was paying $600,000 a month by the Russian mafia.
Yep.
$600,000 a month. So he was a paid agent. He got pardoned. Rudy Giuliani, paid agent. But the Southern District of New York found no evidence, as they said, to prove that when they had it in hand. I mean, all of these things are showing the corruption. Like you asked the question, Ron, why do you think we need to see this? This is not speculation about the depth of corruption that's in this country. We talked about this being a corrupt country. And all of that is simply hearsay. Now you can see it for yourself. There are those who have always been involved in the inner workings of this country who has always known that this country was corrupt from top to bottom, and that the president does not run the country. Wealthy men do. There's a lot of us who've known that. But to see all of it put together in one space, I think it was more for the people who still hold on to this false patriotism thing about America, and that America is the greatest country in the world. America is exceptional. Yeah, it is exceptional, exceptionally corrupt. So I don't believe, well, I know doggone well it was not done to expose, to inform rather those who are politically astute It was for the common man, the people who peruse politics, but not at a depth to know what's going on for real, and people who never would believe that these things took place. Because keep in mind also that the moment that Lev got arrested, they started distancing themselves. I don't know that man. And they said it over and over and over and over until people, inclusive of Democrats, start picking up that he was a liar until he produced the receipts. And even after he produced the receipts, they continued to say that they didn't know him, he was corrupt, he was a liar. Him and Igor.
The funny thing about it is how you said after, he was arrested, it actually started creeping away from him before he was arrested. Giuliani got wind of it and left him at the airport. There's been a change of plan. I'm not going with you.
Yep.
And he leaves him at the airport, knowing what's about to happen.
So
So
Bill Barr, call him.
yeah, I mean, it was like, okay, let us know when you're out of there so we can go ahead and proceed with this.
I think that the FBI called Giuliani, someone from the FBI, and told him, don't go to the airport because we're going to arrest him. That's what I believe happened. Now think about this. Who was thrown under the bus? Igor and Lev.
Mm-hmm.
They were thrown under the bus. They were the scapegoats from day one. That was because no one in power in America was going to be indicted for what they were doing. They've got they knew that they could not try him for representing a foreign country, because if they tried him for that, everything else would go come out. They
Yeah.
knew they could.
Yeah.
So that's why they got him for what is it?
Fraud.
But fraud by contributing to a campaign money or something like that. The fraud had to do with the company fraud and the money that came to the campaign.
Yeah.
Somebody said something.
Good morning, church family. My name is Stephen Griffin, and I'm a longtime listener. But you were talking about this country and what does it do. You've got to remember, this country, when England set sail with the Mayflower, or not the Amistad, but the Mayflower, they sent the scourge from England over here. They sent murderers, rapists, thieves, and nothing's changed really. The only thing they've done is change the wording. Just like now in the military, they got what they call black operations, black op, and things of that nature. They won't confirm, not anything, but they've always done wrong. They have always done wrong. No, the only thing changed was the wording. And I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Now, the people who came over, there were two ships. I can't think of the name of the second one because it returned to England and didn't make the voyage. But the people who came on the first ship were the Puritans, and they were called Puritans because they wanted to expunge everything that was Catholic from Christianity. And they came to this country because they wanted to avoid the rage of Bloody Mary, who was killing all those who were leaders in this movement to separate from Catholicism. And after they came over and got settled with other people, religious people who left England, that is when they started sending the low life over. That it started with prostitutes. there were men who had come here to explore the country who were not criminals. And they started sending prostitutes over for the benefit of those men who were in this country. And shortly after, they start sending the thieves and murderers. Those people who were let out of prison, who came to this country, they populated the coast of South Carolina and Georgia mainly. The lower parts of North Carolina, but more importantly, it was Georgia and South Carolina, they took the bulk of the thieves from England. So I wanted to point that out because because the Puritans really were the first ones on the Mayflower. Now, don't get me wrong, they were murderers too, but after they got him, but they were not let out of prison because they had never been in prison. That I'm going to have to talk about European history very soon, so that we can see how, as this young man said, nothing has changed, only the wording. You can't separate yourself from your roots unless you dig the roots up and plant something else. You can't plant an apple tree on top of the root of an oak tree. You got to take the roots up. And the roots of this country is based on truly religious persecution with the Puritans, but more importantly, greed. So I'm done with that, I think, anyway.
I'd just like to point out something else that goes along with this. If you look at what's happening even now with Musk and his network of satellites, he's a billionaire, almost a trillionaire, and he has the influence such that he can deny a country like Ukraine access to his satellite, which changes potentially the course of war. So just think about being an autocratic power and having men of means, men with money, white men with money, who have that kind of pull, that kind of can make that kind of inroad, not only tangentially, but to the heart of the country and what it is capable of doing. That's another thing that bears watching, because unless the democratic power or some kind of power that is not authoritarian, that is concerned about people in general, not only for the United States, but people in the world, unless that kind of power is not in control to continue to constrain and put boundaries around folk like that. And I'm not talking about just the Musk guys, but those who have the access to the internet and the power control behind that, who can direct what information is shared with the world through the internet. Those kinds of things. All of that is a part of this whole web, if you will, of conniving, murderous, greedy, power-hungry people. Thanks.
And speaking of roots, Musk grew up in South Africa under the apartheid system, so that's in him.
Yes. Yes. And the other thing is that something that we have not mentioned is Musk, Bill Gates are no different than the Russian oligarchs. All of them are in the same boat, and all of them work with each other. It would be impossible for them to function without having connections to the wealthy people and the government power around the world. They could not function without that. So when we looked at that last night, what happened? What did we see? We saw Matt Gaetz, we saw Jeff Sessions, we saw the Republican elite rubbing shoulders with the Russian mafia at Trump's inauguration. And every one of them who were taking pictures and hobnobbing with the underworld of the world, none of them paid a price for that. And the key thing to it is this. One of the things he said was Giuliani told him, don't worry about Congress. There will be no accountability. Think about that. You have the power to say there will be no accountability. Don't concern yourself with Congress. Why? How could you say that? Because you know that Donald Trump is no different than Herbert Hoover was when it comes to having dirt on people. He knew that the Republicans were going to make sure that none of them paid a price for anything that they did. And that's what we saw. And again, and I'm going to keep saying this until it sinks into everybody. That is no different than the Democrats. Because if you know about it and did nothing about it, you're complicit. The hand of one is the hand of all. And you're not going to tell me that the higher ups in the Democratic echelon of power did not know what was going on. And I'm going to keep reiterating that because the Democrats ain't nobody's savior. When the Republican Party was brought into existence, I said, I think yesterday I said Missouri. I thought it was Missouri, but it wasn't. It was Wisconsin. When it was brought into existence, a number of smaller parties came together. Different people from different parties came together to fund the Republican Party. And it proved that the two parties were not different. They had the same goal, but they wanted to go at them different ways. If the Republican Party had truly been against enslavement and believed that enslaved people were humans, they would have made provisions for the enslaved people once the shackles were dropped to be able to sustain themselves in this country as opposed to burning everything they created. The Democrats received the money from Abraham Lincoln to compensate them for the property that they lost. Keep that in mind. There has never been but a one-party system in this country. One-party system. All of them did the same thing. If they didn't do the same thing, if there were a two-party system that was diametrically opposed to each other or that was a challenge to each other, then things would change in this country. But they don't. Because the primary objective is to maintain the status quo. Again, you may go about it different, but you want the same results.
Pastor, I have a question. May I speak?
Say what?
I said I have a question.
Yeah. You said, may you speak. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Okay. So if all of them are in the bed together, the politicians, I'm not a political person. I've never been until I became part of the faith family, it's a lot I still don't know, but help me understand. If all of them are in the bed together,
why is it necessary for us to vote? And do we need to vote for Kamala because of the feminine energy that's supposed to be in place? By us voting for her, are we just putting things into motion? Help me understand with that, please.
Okay.
First,
You've
her name is
heard me say-
Kamala Evelyn.
I'm sorry? Huh?
Kamala, not Kamala, not
Well-
Kamala.
Kamala.
Kamala. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. Kamala. Thank you.
You've heard me say that. I forgot what I was going to say, but anyway, let me put it this way. This country was designed to control who holds office. That was the purpose of the Electoral College. That was also the purpose of saying that if you did not own property, you could not vote. Of course, that was changed. So why do we vote? The system that's in place has to be used to bring about change. If you don't vote, you'll never see change. The only reason that we have been able to sustain ourselves is because we voted. What does that mean? We voted, and because our vote was needed, they never wanted to totally get rid of us. But nothing in our lives changed. Why do we vote for Kamala Harris? Because the African mother is on the throne, meaning that the energy of femininity is where it is supposed to be. And whatever it takes to solidify that, that's what we must do. I made a statement that the Republican Party would never be what it was, ever. And I made a statement in reference to the destruction of it and the difference in the Democrat Party. Neither one of them will ever be the same again. What do we mean when we talk about the reason it won't is because the African mother is on the throne. What do we mean by that? The Black mother is on the throne. What do we mean by that? We're saying that the energy of Alkebulan has been rather placed on the throne that it was on prior to interaction with Europeans. We're saying that because of the journey that we have been guided on, the energy of this world, not just this country, of this world, is in the process of a manifested change. Kamala Harris does not realize the total extent of what's happening with her. When she was there with Oprah, Oprah said the veil dropped. It's like the veil dropped and you stepped into your power. The Kamala response was, you have to step up. Both of those statements are spiritual statements. You don't have to know what you're talking about. You don't have to understand it. But what that conversation was about, that part of it anyway, what it was about is what we are talking about, what we teach, what we put in the macro. We talked about that. So what we're saying is, if you don't vote, then you are part of the problem. Now, do I think that Kamala is going to lose? No, I don't. I don't think she has a chance of losing. And I believe that once she is in power, I'm going to take a leap and say that you will not probably see immediate change. However, we will see change more, the manifestation of change rather, in the lives of humans by looking at it retrospectively. I'm going to take another leap. The only way she will be able to do this is that she has the party in the House and the Senate that agrees with her. Because you can't do but so much through executive orders. So we vote because the system says we vote in order to put someone in power. So Evelyn and others, that's why we vote. We vote to undergird the presence of the Black mother being on the throne. I use the term Black interchangeably with African mother. The reason I use the word Black is because it's not because of the color, because Black is not a color. Black is the substance from which all colors emanate. Black absorbs all colors. White reflects all colors or rebuffs all colors. So when I say the Black mother is on the throne, I'm talking about the mother from which every culture and all the people on earth had their beginning. So, I felt like I needed to explain that. So when you hear it interchangeably, you know that I'm talking about the same thing. I'm done. Evelyn, does that help you?
It does, Pastor Jay, and thank you so much. And also, I see where a lot of, they know something is is transitioning, because I see a lot of CEOs resigning. I don't know if anybody have heard about that, but they're stepping down because I think they know that something is about to happen. Have you seen, any of you seen that on social media?
I have not.
I haven't noticed it.
I haven't, but I did. I hear this morning, as I was eating, the TV was on, and Liz Cheney was quoted as saying, "The Republican Party will never be what it was. There may be people come together to organize another party, but the Republicans would never be able to put up a slate of candidates as it has done in the past." And I thought that fascinating because that's what we had talked about yesterday. It will never be the same again. And at some place last night, she said the same thing. So what we are seeing is the energy that we are putting forth being embraced faster than it has in the past. The reason it's doing that is because space and time are very close to merging. And when space and time merge, time does not exist anymore. Only the space for change. I am saying that time exists for the express purpose of us having opportunity to bring this earth into alignment with the rhythm of the universe. And we are closer to that than we've ever been. In 2 months, Kamala has been able to surpass everything that Biden had when he was running, to the point where she is in the league with Trump. But I don't want anybody to take that for granted, that simply because of poll numbers, we good and stay at home. No, poll numbers only reflect that moment. And poll numbers is no different than any other statistics. You can prove anything you want to prove with statistics. It depends on the zip code that you are asking questions in but it also depends on how you frame the questions. So I don't lend too much credence to polls. I lend credence to what I feel in my soul. And I felt in my soul these things prior to Kamala being the candidate and prior to the polls being leaning in her favor. Trump and Mark Roberts, well, that's another story for them. That's okay. I'm done.
Pastor, may I add one thing to what you were just saying to Evelyn?
Yeah.
After watching that documentary, it resonated deeply in me that it is my duty and it is also my responsibility to be vigilant about knowing now what is happening. No longer do we have the luxury of saying, I'm not going to watch political things. And I'm with you, Evelyn. I was not that political in a sense in that I didn't watch what was going on. And seeing what happened right under our noses has made me more vigilant from seeing that documentary, because I use that word because the scripture tells us to be vigilant, because our adversary, the adversarial energy, is going back looking for whom it can devour. And we came very close as a nation and especially as a people, because all of the negativity and making America great is getting rid of us, the browning of America. That's what's happening. That's what they are trying to stop. It's happening. They can't stop it. But this is certainly a last-ditch effort to stop it. And it made me more resolved and more determined, because when they started saying you were woke, we talked about that a lot when that word was being thrown about. But it was like I woke up when I watched that documentary, and I thought I was already pretty much awake, but that woke me up even more to the fact that it is my duty to vote. It is my duty to be vigilant on behalf of those who don't even understand, those who are still clinging to a vision of a man called Trump, that he's going to save America. And even as people of color are saying that, which confuses me. But that's their right to feel how they feel. But it is my duty and my right to allow things not to happen, to save this nation, but not only this nation, to save the world. So I am more resolved than I have ever been to be vigilant, to watch what's happening more now. And Pastor, even with the Mark Robinson, I know that's another thing for another day, but all of those things are falling into place to help us stay awake. But I wanted to add one other thing. I hear people say I was better, or my finances was better, or he gave me a stimulus check. And I have been shaking my head, because people that got the stimulus checks, a lot of them got it because it was based on the fact that their income had dropped to the point where they needed a stimulus check. And they said that they had more money, or they got more money. And to me, when Trump takes credit for those things, the way I approach the man that he is and the energy that drives him is, if his lips are moving, then he's lying. And that's just how I think of him when I think of all of these things. And so I just have a lot of emotion behind what I'm seeing today, and a lot of passion based on what almost happened, because under our watch, we have been saying, we've always said, not on my watch. We're not going to allow things to destroy us as a people. We are going to be the spiritual nation that we're purposed in this earth to be. All of these things we're saying, but you can't take your eye off the ball, because a lot is happening. And that's just what I walked away with, that sense of resolve that it is my purpose, it is my duty, it is who I am, it is why I am living for such a time as this, to be the difference, to make that difference, to stand in the gap and not allow things to happen, no matter how corrupt they will be. Truth, virtue, honesty, righteousness, spirituality is going to stand when all the dust clears. That's what's going to prevail, and that's because of who we are. And I just wanted to put that out there, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Truly, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Hi, this is Angela. I just wanted to share. It's a video that I think is President Nixon. No, I think Gerald Ford stated that there will be a man that's president male, and that a female vice president will be elected, and that the male president will pass away, and the woman would take the place. And then he was saying that it will be, once that woman is seated as president, it will be hard for another man to sit in that seat. But that was just I think this was back in the day, but it was popping up on social media.
I saw that video. Well, and that's the different than what Eisenhower said about the industrial war complex. If you let them control the money or the Congress or whatever he said, then you will always be in war, because the contractors always go keep us in the war so they can make more money. So he saw that, and that's where we are now. The whole idea of what we are talking about this morning is predicated on the violent nature of the European mindset. Everything we're talking about. When Trump said about the ambassador, the last thing he said was take her out. The first thing came to my mind was he didn't care how she got out of the way. If they killed her, he didn't care.
Didn't care.
He did not care, because he did not only say fire her, recall her. He did not. He said take her out. And nobody responded to it. What did the left say? We just started clapping because we didn't know what to say. This is what we are contending with. This is not about Donald Trump. This is about America. Donald Trump is a physical manifestation of what America is and has been. In order for Kamala Harris to win, I do believe that it's going to have to be a landslide. And I do believe that she will get at least 300 electoral votes. The system that made sure that wealthy white men win has to be broken. And the first part of breaking that system has already taken place. The next part is breaking the electoral college, that system. The first thing that I do believe has to be dealt with is the judicial system. The Supreme Court in particular is going to have to be dealt with, especially after that memo was leaked that John Roberts sent to the other members of the court, saying that we must find a way to protect Trump against prosecution. We are seeing all of this because the universe, the creator, intends for us to know what we're working with. How come all of this was not exposed to the general public last year? Why is it being exposed now, 43 days from an election? Why? Because it must be fresh on your mind what you are dealing with. I cannot see any enlightened person casting a vote to live under a dictator. I cannot see any person of color who is in their right mind casting a vote for someone who seeks their destruction simply because they got $2,000. Think about that. If you got a $2,000 stimulus check, it was gone because you had bills to pay. That's the only reason you got it. There are people who did not get one because they made too much money.
Yeah, but didn't we also get them under Biden?
Nobody's talking about that. Yes, we did. No one is talking about that. I mean, as I said yesterday, for $2,000, and there's something else I want. Can I address something that's been bothering me?
Yes.
How in the hell can you be a Republican? How can you be a Republican? How is it that you can look in the mirror and say that you care about your people and be a Republican, especially with what you have seen, what we have seen, the experiences that our people have had under the Republican Party? I'm not talking about under Bush. Bush was bad enough. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about under this idiot that's in place now. How in the world can you?
All three, I guess I won't be riding with them.
Oh, you won't be riding with whom? All three. I'm sorry. All of these people who are people of color who are Republicans. Yes, that's your right, but it doesn't make it right. You sold your soul. You sold your people out. Yes, it's your right to do that, but it doesn't make it right. It tells me that you don't know who in the hell, you don't know who you are. It tells me that you are still blind to the essence of your purpose for being in this earth. It tells me that you can talk about Africa and Kabbalah and Kemet and the Kushite kingdom all you want, but you don't understand what you are saying. And if you do understand what all of this represents, then why is it that you are able to, in good conscience, be a part of a system that is seeking to destroy everything that does not look like it? I don't understand that. Yes, let me talk about Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson, all the things that he said are nothing that Donald Trump has not done. And yet he got this man with 34 felonies, been convicted and adjudicated rapist. All of this has been done. And now Mark Roberts say some things on nude African nudity or nude Africa, whatever it is. And now they castigate him. I have a theory about that. Mark Robinson is either he has been given over to a reprobate mind and too blind to see that what's killing him is his mouth, the things he's saying. That's why he's low in the polls. It's either that or Mark Robinson does not intend to win. Suppose for a moment that he is sacrificing himself and his reputation to make sure that the Democratic challenger wins. There is no way. This man is not dumb at all. There's no way that he can do this unless he's not clear in his mind and his thinking, or he is doing it for a purpose other than being elected. Why am I saying this? Because the wheat is being separated from the chaff. The wheat right now or it's the campaign of Kamala. Why do I say that? Because Kamala's campaign is based on people. This is the first time that you have people from all walks of life supporting one person. How is it that everyone from Dick Cheney to Bernie Sanders is on board with this? A person like Dick Cheney is on board with this, and you're a colored man because you ain't no African in your mindset. You're a European mindset, walking around here talking about Trump is the one you're going to vote for. How is it that you can be a Republican and Dick Cheney, one of the most conservative people on this earth, says that Trump ain't fit, but you can support him? That this is a problem for us. Now, the problem is going to be solved. And let me tell you how. Kamala Harris is going to be elected. And all of you who are railing against her, all of you who are pushing for the Trump thing secretly, you are going to be caught up in something that you have never experienced in your life. This is not a scare tactic, this is a fact. Watch and see what happens to those who are in the bed with Trump, the manifestation of this country. Watch and see. You are no different, black man. You are no different than the enslaved man who was a tracker, who did everything he could to help the night riders, help the slave masters track down Harriet Tubman. You are no different than that. And I'm not even talking about the idea of you being insensitive to where our people have been and are to this day. I don't understand that. And if there is anyone who can explain to me why you are supporting or why you are a Republican when the RNC chair, Mike Steele, walks away from it. How is it that you do this? If you can explain that to me, I have listening ears. I'm done, and I'm waiting for an explanation if anyone can explain that to me.
You ready, Reverend Rich?
May I say
I'm
something?
ready. I'm ready.
George, may I make one comment before you go, George?
Of course, Miss Cassie.
Thank you. The only thing I was going to add, Pastor, because I'm not adding to what you said in the sense, I mean, you're thorough in what you said. But the one thing I was going to say is, having seen that documentary and knowing the nature and the character of this individual, when you go into that booth to vote, not only are you voting for a dictator, you're voting for a dictator who has been given absolute power to do whatever he chooses to do with no repercussions. And knowing the nature and the evil nature of this being, you know what he is capable of. And if you can do that and sleep at night, then that's on you. Thank you, George, for giving me a moment. I'm done.
Thank you, Kathy.
Hey,
George?
thank you. Hey, thank you, Miss Cassie. Reverend Richard, I agree in what you're saying, and I'm not looking at this as I'm the antagonist, yet if you look at it from a spiritual aspect, what better way to learn that if you're wrong than to be committed to wrong? What better way to learn about being righteousness if you're committed to righteousness? When someone tells me that they're a Republican, at least they let me know where they stand. the Negro that scared me is the Negro that stand on the fence, that don't let you know where you stand. So I'm just saying from a spiritual aspect, the energy of it, what better way to learn to know you're wrong than to be committed to wrong? What better way to learn what's righteousness than to be committed to righteousness? When a person lets you know whether I am Republican, did I vote for Obama? Yeah. Am I going to vote for Kamala Harris? Yeah. I enjoy the individual who lets me know where they stand. That
My question-
Negro
Well, let me ask you a
that
question.
stands on the
You
what-
said.
can
the
I
one
just finish?
on the
Can I
fence.
just
Let
finish?
me ask you a
Reverend?
question. Let me ask you a question. Why are you a Republican?
Because in some cases, Reverend Richard, the Republican mantra, them all black folk slogans. Pull yourself up by your own bootstrap. Them black folks saying.
No, it's not.
And
No, it's not.
okay, don't Reverend. Okay,
I'm
Reverend
gonna
Richard.
let me
say
tell you
it's
why,
not-
Joe. Let me tell you. Hold. That saying came into the vernacular of this country when I was in the 4th grade. In my 4th grade weekly reader, there was a story about Puerto Rico and the people in governmental power at that time were saying that Congress should not give money to Puerto Rico, let them pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. That is not an African saying. My question to Miss Christie, my teacher, was this: how can you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps when you standing in your boots? That made no sense to me in the 4th grade. We have to know the origin of stuff before we assign where it came from. We never believe that you have to pull yourself up by your own bootstrap. We always believe that it takes a community for us to rise beyond our circumstances. We've always believed that. That's why churches would have very little money, but they gave $10 or $15 to kids in college, at least once a year. Why? It takes the community, and we've always believed that. Now go ahead, sir.
Okay, Reverend Richard. I accept your view on that. Thank you for that. There are some things, whether it's a Republican or Democrat or independent, I'm a creator. I don't put all that faith and stock into who's running for office. And this whole thing about pull yourself up by your own bootstrap, maybe that meant something back in the day. The way you are now, presently speaking, you better know how to keep your own self encouraged, because ain't no one going to keep you encouraged, not like they used to, and that's reality. All I'm saying is if a person is wrong from a spiritual aspect, me personally, any individual that let me know where they stand, I can work with that individual, even if we're on opposite ends. Yet that Negro, Reverend Richard, that stand on the fence, and you dominate this here earth. So I'm asking you, in your dominating the earth, working with the earth, being one with the earth, do you not appreciate the individual that lets you know where they stand, even if they sound ignorant? IGNUT.
I do.
Then the
I
individual, then the
But you haven't answered my
individual, Reverend
question.
Richard.
You haven't answered my question. My question was, why are you a Republican?
I thought I did. There's some things that I agree with the Republican Party. There's some I don't agree with everything. There's some things that I just agree. I agree with Donald Trump when Donald Trump told Israel, you want us to be your bully, you're going to pay us. I agree with that. The things that I did not agree with Donald Trump when he said something about military personnel, and I lost all trust and faith in him when he said he only appreciate the ones that
You
didn't
trusted
get
him.
caught.
You trusted him.
I'm done.
You said you lost trust, you trusted him simply because he said Israel had to pay up.
Yeah. And you know what? Trust may not be the correct word at this time. And probably, and I shouldn't have said, once I said trust, I knew you was going to gig me on that, Reverend Richard. And I shouldn't have said that. But I appreciated Trump for saying, hey, Israel, no more we going to be your bully. You out here acting a fool and you come to us, you going to pay us.
Now Trump
There's
didn't,
some things.
Trump didn't say that.
What's that?
Trump did
Okay,
not
though,
say,
now if I
first
show
of all,
you
wait a minute,
Reverend
wait a minute,
Richard,
George.
if
Wait a
I
minute.
show you, I'll show you the video then.
No, this is what send me the video, but this is what I'm saying. Trump did the total opposite thing. When Trump moved the capital from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, that was what Netanyahu wanted. Trump didn't give 2 cents about the lives of the people, the Palestinians in Gaza or the West Bank. The reason Netanyahu wants Trump now is because he knows that any weaponry he wants, he's going to get it. Trump gave them more weaponry and money than they ever had received until the October 7th, when those people were captured. So I don't want to sit here and spend all of our time with you and me having a conversation about it. I don't want to do that. But I do
Now,
want.
Rev, you can't say that now. You
I
asked the
did.
question with someone, and now you say, but that's cool, Reverend Richard. I'm just expressing from a spiritual aspect. If a person commits themselves to wrong, they'll know what wrong is, and maybe the person can conform. If a person commits themselves to righteousness, they'll know what righteousness is. Let it play out. And I appreciate people who let me know where they stand. I don't appreciate no Negro that stand on the fence and they ain't gonna let which dog gonna bite them in the butt. I have no use for that Negro.
Okay.
I appreciate people, and I'm just asking you, Reverend Richard, in how you maneuver in dominating the earth.
Okay.
Do you not have an appreciation for people who let you know where they stand, or do
George,
you
you've
show
already asked me
appreciation?
that. You've already asked me that, and I've already answered it. I'm not going back there.
I never heard your answer. I didn't hear
I
your
said
answer.
yes. I said yes. Now, let me explain the spiritual implications of what's happening. The spiritual implications of this documentary that we watch. It is the voice of the universe. It is the voice of our ancestors who is saying to us, this is what you are contending with. And when we saw how they abandoned Lev, left him out there on his own and began a campaign to discredit him and to make him look like he was the crook. That is telling us when you are committed to the truth of righteousness, you are going to experience from the energy that needs to be repurposed. That energy is going to wreak havoc in your life. And if you don't know who you are and if you submit to it, then you will be imprisoned by it. If you remain vigilant, if you remain, your eye remain open and you know who you are, and you don't allow yourself to be submissive to that, you will never be imprisoned by it. You will understand something that's in the scripture. When the word that word attributed to Jesus said, it is the enemy has done that to you. That's what you understand. That spiritually, it is the one who you are trying to make every effort rather to repurpose that energy. That energy is not going to lay down and be repurposed when it has an affinity for money, It has an affinity for power. And the only way it can do this is to subvert people who do not look like them. The universe has spoken. The universe is speaking. That the documentary that Rachel did had nothing to do with politics. All of the other stuff that was done during the course of it was political, but the showing of it, the piecing together of the puzzle had nothing to do with politics. It was a spiritual message from the universe showing us that you are live and the energy that you are repurposing are the ones who pull the strings. Does that make sense?
Well, Reb, all I want to say in conclusion is just because it appears that I'm disagreeing with you, it does not mean that I won't complete with you.
Okay.
And I'm not an individual that in order for me to complete with an individual, I got to agree with that individual or agree with these people. I'm not wired like that. I ain't built like that. Have no desire to be like that. At the end of this conversation, Reverend Richard, I know I can depend on you. And I hope you know that you can depend on George. That's all I got to say. Thank y'all.
This is not personal at all. Of course I know that. So my point is this. I said at the onset that I wanted to show the spiritual implications of this at some point. And obviously, this is the point where it needs to be shown. And I think that I have covered that. And if there's anyone who did not understand what I was saying in relationship to the Creator, the universe telling us that we are led in terms of repurposing energy, we are led in terms of how the energy that needs to be repurposed is doing everything it can to remain intact by seeking to destroy our will to move forward, to destroy our intestinal fortitude to persevere, regardless of the adversities that we have to deal with in our daily and personal lives. The strength that the Creator has shown us that we have, the God, the divinity that we know that we are, must prevail over these adversities in order for us to be the vanguard for humanity. So this earth environment can be conducive to a life of peace, a life of loving kindness, a life of where people are constantly seeking the truth. And are there any questions about this spiritual understanding of it? Or any not only questions, but if you have any comments about it, I appreciate you making them. Even if you're saying
I have
that
a question.
this is clear, go ahead.
Is there a link to you mentioned a documentary? Was there a link or something, or is it something that's going to come back on again?
It's probably going to come back on tonight because usually MSNBC plays the popular programs on weekends, so you can look at it. And if not, then go to YouTube.
Okay, thank you.
It's on you. It's on YouTube. It's called was it From Russia to Russia with Liv Lev?
Yeah.
So
right.
it's out there.
Ron, do you mind sending that to me?
Yeah, I'll send
what
it
you
to
just said.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. From Russia with Liv. I wanted to comment on something too. One of the every now and then something happens is just kind of a life-changing thing to me that opens a door. And one of the things Pastor said quite a while ago is when we were looking at the 12th chapter of Genesis, and we were looking at the difference between a country and a nation. And that stood out to me. A country being an individual place, a country being a place that stands alone and has its borders and keeps its resources in and keeps everything unwanted out. It is isolated. A nation being a village, a nation is a different mindset. A nation is a place of love and inclusiveness and supporting each other. And what thing I got from this last conversation, one of the values out of it between Pastor and George and looking at this thing is what you pointed out is the principle of the politics of the Republican Party is that of a country. It is not inclusive of anybody. And that is the mindset that you are buying into, to me, when you become a Republican, when you see the I and the me and look at it from that perspective. So with that said, everybody on this phone, we talk about love, when we talk about harmony, when we talk about forgiveness, we're inclusive of everybody. And sorry, I'm got a text message, but that is just something to point out. That is the difference between what we do and what I suppose other religions do, and what our values are, what our desires are, and what this whole pursuit is about. So when I look at it from that perspective, that is the difference, and that is kind of sums up uh what whether or not because I've never seen an African proverb that does not talk about love and community or you know inclusiveness of everybody. And I was reminded of that story George told of the kids locking arms and finishing the race together. That is the mentality that we're moving to, or I thought had moved to. So just thought that was important to bring out. Uh, it is hard to follow something that is going to line your pockets, but not line the pockets or bring about a better support for all of mankind. So to me, with that said, and I'm gonna hush after this, but it is a pleasure and a privilege to be on this line because of all the people of color that have been born before us and been born after us and exist now. We are here representing everybody, everything that is ever it breathed on the earth. That is the awareness, the consciousness that we're in now. That is the mindset, and that is the difference. So this is not an overwhelming thing. This, no matter, one of the things that came out of this is Giuliani said, don't worry about it. There's nothing the Congress, there's nothing the government can do to hurt you. That is true, but that is not a scary thing to us here. This is a purpose, and the conversations are just to support that and show us who we are and remind us. So sorry, didn't mean to talk so long, but
That's okay.
it,
I want to take this
I
minute.
think we are passionate, at least, about who we are and what we're doing here.
Ron, I want to take this opportunity to say to everyone on, that I apologize for the tone that I responded to George with. I apologize to George as well as those who are on currently and those who may have dropped off, because sometimes I get to a place of frustration, especially when the African is being dehumanized by other Africans. That bothers me and always have. But my tonality should have been different as opposed to what it was. I have never been able to stand by. And
Well, Rev,
may I finish?
number one,
I have never been able to stand by and and be silent about things that I feel people don't pay any attention to, or they do pay attention to it, yet ignore it. And if it had been during the period of Bush Republican, that's different than now since Donald Trump. That's different. So I'm done with that. I will not respond to anything else in regards to that, regardless of what's said. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's done. It's over with. And I'm moving on. So thank you in advance for accepting my apology.
well, Rev, you didn't have to apologize to me, but to the other people, if that's what you felt. I just now received 2 texts. And one text said, when you and that man engage one another, I hear life. So the person that texts me that, they ain't taking offense to what you said. They ain't taking offense to what I said. They said they heard life. And if we can walk away with that, that's pretty good to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron?
Yes, sir. Anybody else, thoughts or questions? Okay. Well, again, appreciate your energy, and love these discussions. I love where we are. I love the Genesis talks about being shapeless and void. We are shaping. We're filling the void, and that feels good. So thank you again. Love your energy. I hope everybody have a good day. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 6 p.m. If you can, please. Have a great day, y'all.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.